welcome to the Rumble Podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Margaret, and joining me today is my lovely co-host, Mike.
Hello, everyone.
And then with us today is the man of the hour, Jim Platzer. So, Jim, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, we're happy to have you and Maggie here with us today.
Can you get a shot of Maggie?
We definitely can get a shot of Maggie for sure.
Good.
Well, why don't you start off by telling us just a little bit about yourself?
Sure.
And just how you're connected to PFW, and we can kind of roll from there.
First, because I'm wearing sunglasses, I'll explain the eye condition that I have. So I am legally blind. I have a little bit of central vision, so it's like looking down a small tube, and very sensitive to light. So I do wear sunglasses. When it's light out, I can't see much of anything. When it's dark, can't see much of anything. So retinitis pigmentosa is a retinal degenerative disease. Typically, it'll kind of run its course. I had pretty good vision when I was younger, actually very good vision. I'm kind of a midlife diagnosis of RP.
Yeah.
So really can't walk through a room without assistance, whether it's from a dog or a cane or holding on to somebody. So I am visually impaired.
Yeah.
So I hope that explains to everybody why I wear sunglasses. So your question was, I think, along the lines of my role here at PFW.
Yeah, just kind of tell us how you got here.
How did I get here? Yeah. So I am an instructor here at PFW in the organizational leadership department. So I'm a full load instructor. Teach 4 classes or equivalent of that. Been doing that for a year and absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So it's been a great experience for me. That's kind of the end game of where I'm at.
Let's work backwards or go in whatever order you want.
Yeah. So how did I get there? I started working for a major company, a Fortune 500 company, and I was in high volume distribution, okay, and did pretty much everything involved in the operation of a distribution facility. So over the years, I've done stockroom, purchasing manager, service manager, operations manager. And the last position that I held was president and general manager of one of these facilities for a Fortune 500 company. So I was there a long time.
So how exactly did you get into teaching then? How did you become a professor from going from a Fortune 500 company that led to this?
I was eventually forced to leave the company. And at that point, I needed to find something to do. I needed purpose in my life.
Yeah.
And most of us realize that if you don't have purpose in your life, it can be pretty empty.
Absolutely.
And it was.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I looked for those things that would help me. I went to Leader Dogs for the Blind. I got my first leader dog there, and that gave me a lot of confidence and a higher degree of mobility than what I had before. Shortly after that, they asked me to join their board, which I've served on for many years at this point in all kinds of different capacities, from philanthropy to operations, done a lot of things with them. Also, I'm a member at the Parkview YMCA, and they asked me to sit on their board. And I sat on their board I'm off of it now, but I was there for over a dozen years.
Wow.
That's awesome.
It was, Mike, it was great for me because those were the pieces, Margaret, that you have to put in place that give you purpose.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what happened. Janice and I also, because of my eye disease, we started a local chapter in Fort Wayne for the Foundation Fighting Blindness, which is the largest independent source of research for retinal degenerative diseases like mine. And since we founded that, really proud to say that we've raised more than $850,000 for research.
That's incredible.
That's amazing.
Those are some of the things that I picked up. And to get to your point is that I was looking for more.
Right.
Okay? And at that point, it was like, okay, I've always wanted to go back to school and get my master's, and this was before COVID had started.
Yeah.
And it was an easy choice for me to make, to go to organizational leadership, talk to the professors there, knew the material well. In fact, it coincided so well with what I did in business. It was amazing. Let me compound that by, I talked to both of you earlier about becoming a keynote motivational speaker. That was one of those odd things that happened during this whole time, was picking up these opportunities. I had two major automotive companies come to me, and they wanted my services at about the exact same time.
Oh, wow.
So I won't mention the name. I'll give you an example of one of them. And they had some real issues, okay? And this is a luxury brand that you would be well aware of, okay? They had gone through some design issues back in the 80s and 90s. They had fixed those issues. It's a very good-looking car, but customers were walking away from that brand at about a 50% level.
Wow.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
And if you look at some of the statistics like that are produced in J.D. Powers and Associates, that's not a good number. No. And they had to figure out, well, what do we do about that? And what they had to do was a lot of surveys, a lot of analytical work to figure out what have we done to our customer base.
Yeah.
Well, the president of the company, Scott, I won't say the last name, he and his team figured it out. And it ended up being a culture issue within the company. What does culture have to do with organizational leadership? A lot.
A lot.
It's about people.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Okay. It was a big change for this company, and I was invited to go out and speak with them. It was the president of the company and his 4 key directors and myself. And we went out and we met in front of all 15,000 members of their team in a cross-country tour that took several months. And we'd each go out on stage by ourselves and we'd do like a 18, 20-minute TED-style talk and talk about different aspects of what was happening in the company. You know, those are the learning experiences where a company can do a lot of right things. They can fix their engineering problems, but they have to be able to understand that people play a huge part. Their people issue was at the dealership level.
Yeah.
Yep.
They had taken their eye off of what needed to be done, what needed to be managed at the dealership level.
Right.
Okay? And that's where the focus was. And that's what we addressed, and we went across the country to do that. Just to put it in perspective, sometimes we think about these things in smaller companies and it's not a lot of money. But when you look at a company this large, you're talking about millions and millions of dollars to put together a program that brings their entire team together at 16 different venues across the country to work on fixing that problem.
Right.
And it ended up being very successful. It was a kind of a 3-prong venture. Our prong that I was on was the first prong. They were able to change the numbers through that process, really change the culture within the company.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So when I look at organizational leadership, I look at it from those perspectives of how important it is to make sure that you're communicating well with your most valuable resource, your people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If you can't do that, or if you neglect it, things will go south on you. Choosing organizational leadership was a very easy choice for me because it is so people-focused, and I can tell you 100% of the keynote motivational engagements that I went on had to do with people, trust, teamwork, communication. They were wanting to fix those things.
Yeah.
So, you know, I did consider, a standard, business degree, MBA, but I didn't want some of the things that were involved with that, which, I look at economics and math, finance and accounting. I had some of that, and I really didn't want to focus attention on those curriculums. Mm-hmm. Now, in OL, we look at those things, but it's kind of a lighter version, but we take a hard pivot on making sure that we're looking at the people aspect of the businesses, okay? If you're going to have a successful business, you got to make sure that you've got leaders, you've got supervisors, you've got managers, you've got directors that are motivating the people, because that's where the sustainable success comes from.
Yeah.
If you can't tell, I get pumped up over it.
I can tell just a little bit. Yeah.
That's incredible, though. It almost sounded like you went on like a tour, like you're a part of a band, you went on tour across the country to help talking about these issues within this company and what's being addressed and what needs changed. It's awesome.
Yeah, it really is, and I think the OL program, I think, will become wider spread, because businesses will look at other things. And I can see where finance and economics and math, there's a lot of advancements in software and software suites that kind of streamline that.
Yeah.
And really, it allows us to put the focus, like I say, that hard pivot towards people. That's what I get excited about.
Yeah. I get that. I get excited about people. I'm very much a people person, so I can definitely relate to that.
You know where
I found that in my current job. I mean, like, the people are what make the job for me. Like, it doesn't matter what work I'm doing. The people that are around me and are encouraging and are supportive, and just people I enjoy working with, that makes me want to stay for forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And I'll ask both of you, and I'll ask viewers that'll see this podcast, have you experienced a manager that's not good with people?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
Let me go one step beyond that. Have you experienced a manager who's toxic to the environment?
Yes.
Also, yes.
I mean, honestly, I hear about those stories, and I go, how in the world is that business ever going to survive with that in place? There's a guy I like to pay attention to. His name's Simon Sinek. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he's written a lot of books on leadership. And he was telling a story about, he went to Vegas for a talk and ran into a guy at I'm not sure what the luxury hotel was. It was a very high-end hotel. And he ran into a barista there. And I'm going to use his name as Mike. and Mike was a great guy, very conversive, interested in Simon. Didn't know him from Adam, right? But had that quality about him. And it really caught Simon's attention because he wanted to know, why is it like that?
Right.
He wants to, pull it apart and see what that looks like.
Right. Yeah.
And it was interesting what he found. What he found was that Mike liked that job because of the management within that hotel, high-end luxury hotel. The management would come by, Mike, how are you doing? Or how are things going? Do you need any help with anything? They had that, and what we call in organizational leadership, that service leadership state of mind. I'm not here to be your boss. I'm here to be a servant to what you need so that you're successful in your job.
Absolutely.
The interesting other part of that conversation that Simon had, because Mike told him, I work 2 jobs. Simon said, well, how do you like working at that job? And Mike said, I hate it. I hate it. So Simon wanted to know, well, why?
Yeah.
Why do you hate that job? And he said, you know what? He said, the managers come by and they are just looking for something that I've done wrong.
Yep.
There's no praise involved. Those managers are hunting for problems with that employee. And it's such a stark difference in mindset for managing people. And I think, the students that we bring through organizational leadership will understand that clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's treating people as people, seeing their humanity rather than just seeing them as cogs in a machine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if, it makes you want to go, what is wrong with you guys?
Absolutely. No, and it's part of a thing, because employers, I think, are trying to understand now the difference between being productive and working.
Yeah.
And when you're productive, it means that, you're meeting deadlines, that you're communicating effectively within, your clients and your company. But the difference is that the work is getting done. They see that.
Yes.
Versus, oh, is this person coming in on time? Is this person, doing this and that? Are they meeting A, B, and C, or are they going beyond that? And it's a difference in understanding how to be a manager, and that you're not trying to take, you're not trying to give orders, but you're trying to understand, that the work is part of the person.
Yeah.
And you bring up a great point, because our OL students will be able to go in and look at that type of a problem and diagnose it. Mm-hmm. That's the important part. Let's say you've got somebody come in and they're late, or there's an issue with whatever it might be, productivity, quality of work, whatever it might be. But our OL students will know to look further beyond just what the problem is, but how to diagnose it.
Right.
Yeah.
And fix that problem.
Yeah.
For me as a manager, I've got to reflect back on myself and think, okay, what have I done here to create that issue?
Right.
Maybe there's something that I need to fix. Do I need to look at policies and procedures within the company? Do I need to look at resources? Are some of the resources for that person to be able to effectively do their job, are those resources scarce?
Yeah. Yeah.
All of that plays into it. So, our students in OL, I think, have a vast advantage in being able to lead people successurfly.
That's awesome.
Which, of course, that's where you get sustainability.
Yeah.
Again, it's not like organizational leadership doesn't teach any of the economics and math and finance as an example, but we do a lighter version of it.
Yeah.
We get that in there, but maybe there's students out there that are like, I don't want to go real heavy on math or economics or finance, but I want to be a manager and I want to be a good manager. OL is the perfect choice.
Absolutely.
So if someone's considering going into OL and getting their master's in that, what's something you would recommend to them, or what's some advice that you could give them?
Yeah. I would say do it now. Don't wait.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're and I'll apply your question in a couple different ways. If it's a student in OL, I would say if you have to go work, and I understand that, we have bills to pay, go ahead and work, knock off a class or two every semester, and you'll be done before you know it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay? And that payoff is huge over the course of a lifetime in a career.
Yeah.
Because now you're going to be up for promotions. They're going to go, yeah, they got their master's in organizational leadership. They know about this, that, or the other. The second prong that I want to tell you about, because you asked the question, is that I get a lot of mechanical engineering students, electrical engineering, computer science, dental programs. I get a variety of different students in some of my classes. And my suggestion is that those students will probably be, they're young folks for the most part. At some point, they're going to be a manager. They're going to be a leader.
Yeah.
And when those promotions are there and available, and somebody looks at the resume for that student and they look and go, "Guys, he's got a minor in organizational leadership." That's a huge advantage.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For moving yourself ahead in the organization.
Right.
Yeah. We talked a little bit before, so I thought we could end with kind of just a fun story and you kind of sharing overcoming some of your needs. And so if you could just tell us about how you were a pilot.
Yeah.
And even as you're legally blind, how you were able to fly. So,
yeah, I appreciate you asking. As I mentioned, I think earlier, I got my pilot's license at an early age, became visually impaired, and really the automotive company that I was speaking about, that I went on tour with, they actually put me in their hottest vehicle. Okay, this is a supercar.
Yeah.
Wow.
And put me on a track, and they put a pro driver next to me who gave me verbal instructions, hands at 9 and 3, go to the 2 o'clock position. That's what blind people do, is knock microphones. go to the 2 o'clock position. So I was able to maneuver around that track in this supercar, which was great. But it got me thinking. It's like, okay, I know how to fly. Yeah. Would it be possible to go to that 3-dimensional environment and be able to do that based on verbal feedback? And I remember calling, his name's Joel Pierce. He's the general manager at Sweet Aviation right here in town. Mm-hmm. And I called Joe and kind of explained to him what I would like to do.
Yeah.
And God bless him. He got it. And I told him, I said, this is something that I'd like to try and do. And I also told him the overarching purpose. I would like to do it for myself, but I really want to be able to use this as a piece in keynote motivational speaking or in class or otherwise, where people could look and see, okay, what kind of perceived limitations do I have in my life?
Yeah.
Yep.
And the feedback that I've gotten from that has been enormous. Getting emails back from, I listened to what you said today, whatever conference I was asked, and I'm starting to use those principles. And I even have kind of made amends with my teenage son in our relationship.
Yeah.
So you do those things, and again, it's not about me flying.
Right.
It's about having other people. You guys are people oriented. It's about other people looking at that and go, okay, if he can do that, what am I facing that I can't get out of?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can I get a different perception on that?
It's absolutely, because it's breaking boundaries. It's, not seeing it as a disability. It's, what's holding me back. There's nothing holding me back. And you were able to fly, and it was an amazing experience.
It was an amazing experience. And the whole goal was, because Joel was my avionic panel, so all the instruments are there. He's reading the instruments to me. Mm-hmm. And the whole goal was for me to taxi, take off, and land without any physical intervention from Joel. And wow. we were able to do that.
That's awesome.
Many times.
That's incredible. And I think, like Mike said, it's inspiring to other people too, no matter what impairment or different difficulties that you may have with different accommodations. Like, you just needed someone there to tell you.
Yeah.
There's lots of things that you can do, and you don't have to be held back by something that feels like it may be holding you back.
Let me throw in one other thing.
Absolutely, go for it.
Because I think it's just so critical. We talked about DEI.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think it's so critical, and it is a focus in OL that, we really make sure that we get a lot of culture built into our classes.
Absolutely.
So that our students know how to traverse the cultural divides, okay? Mm. And on top of that, we put a lot of ethics into it.
Yeah.
You guys know as well as I do that almost every time you turn on the news or read an article, somebody has fallen off the ethics pedestal.
Yep.
Big time. So, and I like to try and feed that into my classes and give examples, because I've been in business, I've seen it. Give examples how people, okay, maybe I can do that, but you've got to kick back to ethics. And we get a lot of culture and ethics built into our program.
That's awesome. Sounds like a really cool program.
It is. It really is.
If you can just close out with telling us your name again, and I think you've said the program enough, but just so we're telling it one more time, and then just what your title is here at PFW.
Yeah. My name is Jim Platzer. I work in the Organizational Leadership Department as a visiting instructor. It's just been great. My experience in going actually to school here in that program was awesome. My colleagues now in the department, I learned so much from them. They're great people. Yeah, I couldn't be more pleased. And it was really a great opportunity for me to infuse what I learned in that program into some of that keynote motivational speaking and into the classroom.
So do you still do keynote speech?
You know, it's COVID really stepped on keynote.
Okay.
I've had a couple things come up, but it's almost like the cruise industry or some other thing. It's starting to pick up, and I hope it comes back to where it was.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Good question.
Yeah, thank you for being here, and thank you for doing this with us. It's really been a pleasure getting to know you and hearing your story, and it's been inspiring to myself with my own limitations that I have, that they don't have to hold me back, that I really can,
Fantastic.
I can move forward, and I don't have to be defined by just one thing.
Fantastic. Mike, Margaret, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Jim.
You bet.
Thank you.